Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Joseph Lopez. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Prime Minister off to Washington, D.C. and Canada. The Education Minister reveals that there would be an increased manpower to iron out issues in the education system. And in sport, a tribute to Peggy Castaneda. Welcome. In our top story, the Honourable Prime Minister is set to fly the flag of Trinidad and Tobago high as she will attend two important functions in Washington, D.C. and Canada.
Prime Minister, the Honourable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, SC, will attend two significant events outside of Trinidad and Tobago. This was revealed by the Honourable Minister of Communication, Senator Jamal Mohammed, at Thursday's post-cabinet news briefing. The Honourable Prime Minister will first depart Trinidad and Tobago for Washington.
Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar will be leaving Trinidad and Tobago on Sunday coming, the 14th of April, for a visit to Washington, D.C., United States of America. Among several important activities, meetings and events planned for this trip, the main item on the agenda will be her feature speech at the special conference entitled America's Africa Business Forum, New Commercial Partnerships for Economic Growth, to be held at the headquarters of the Organization of American States, the OAS, in Washington, D.C.
Before returning to Trinidad on April 20th, the Prime Minister will receive an award for her commitment to promoting issues affecting women and children in the Americas at the Spirits of the Americas charity event. Commenting on her visit next week, the Honourable Prime Minister says she is looking forward to the discussions in Washington and further indicated that this country will continue to aggressively pursue new international partnerships in order to continue stimulating economic growth and further development. In her absence, the Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Winston Dukaran, will act as Prime Minister. Following this, the Prime Minister will leave for Canada for a special state visit.
On Tuesday, the 23rd of April, she will accept an invitation from the Prime Minister of Canada for a formal state visit to Canada. And she's heading a very powerful delegation from Tuesday, the 23rd of April, and returning on Friday, the 26th of April. And again, during her absence, Minister of Labour, Mr. Errol McLeod, will be acting as Prime Minister.
The official visit comes almost 1 year after the state visit to this country by Their Excellencies, the Right Honourable David Johnston, Governor-General of Canada, and Mrs. Sharon Johnston, during the 50th anniversary of independence celebrations and the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Trinidad and Tobago and Canada. Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar's visit will include an official greeting at the Rotunda, Parliament Hill, a meeting with Prime Minister Harper, and calls on the presiding officers of the Parliament. The Honourable Prime Minister will participate in a town hall meeting with the Trinidad and Tobago diaspora and will have media interviews, as well as deliver the keynote address at a trade and investment roundtable hosted by the Canada Council for the Americas. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Education Minister Dr. the Honourable Tim Gopi-Singh has revealed that there would be an increased number of manpower to iron out issues in the education system. He was speaking at a weekly post-cabinet media briefing.
Cabinet has approved new and increased human resource positions for the student support services of the Ministry of Education. This was revealed by Education Minister Dr. the Honourable Tim Gopi-Singh while speaking at Thursday's post-cabinet news briefing. The Education Minister says the Cabinet approved two separate Cabinet notes that sought to ensure there is a greater cadre of persons to treat with the many challenges that face students across Trinidad and Tobago.
As you know, there have been some degree of dysfunctionality in the school population, with some degree of bullying and some aberrant and dysfunctional behavior by students, resulting in approximately 2,500 plus suspensions last year. And over 200 of these had to have extended suspensions. Well, the Cabinet made the decision in conjunction with the Minister of Education, who brought the note, for consideration of human resource personnel in the Student Support Services Division to give assistance in the prevention of a number of these dysfunctionalities and, of course, dealing with them in terms of counseling.
Dr. Gopi Singh explains that under the public service staff requirements and establishment, there were approximately 90 guidance officer positions and 70 schools social worker positions, many of which were not filled. Acting on the belief that each school should have both a guidance counselor or officer and a school social worker, Minister Gopi Singh spoke of what the cabinet approved in the first note that was brought before it.
We now have a full manager for student support services, a coordinator for guidance and counseling, one coordinator for education diagnostic prescriptive services, that means diagnosing the different dysfunctionalities and so on, so one coordinator for that. 7 diagnostic specialists. We'll have one for each district in Trinidad and one for Tobago as well. 1 inclusive education specialist. You know, students are sometimes out of the mainstream of the education system with these disorders, and this inclusion specialist will assist in ensuring these students come back into the mainstream of the education system. 2 school psychologists, 7 senior school social workers in addition to the 70 that are on the establishment. And these are senior school social workers, 1 for each district, 61 school social workers, and you'll hear a little more about that. 70 guidance counselors in addition to the 90 who are there on the establishment already. 9 senior special education instructors. 9 special education instructors, so you have senior and then the junior ones. 34 special education teacher aides. You know, there are many students in the school population which require some assistance. So we have a cadre of special education teacher aides. 8 interpreter assistants. There had been some mention in the general media recently about students who are hearing impaired and they needed to have translators and so on. And so we have 8 interpreter assistants, 4 Braille technicians, and 3 Braille conversion operators.
The Honourable Minister went on to highlight the new and increased positions in the second approved cabinet note.
School psychologists, 14 clinical psychologists. We never had them in the school population before. 14 behavioral specialists. 73 school social workers. This is an addition to the 64 I mentioned before, and 61 and 90 which we have on the establishment. So that would be 90 plus 61, 151, and 73 is 224 school social workers we will have in the system. 109 guidance counselors in addition to the 70 that I spoke about. So that's 179 new guidance counselors. 31 senior special education instructors, 108 special education instructors, and 34 special education teacher aides.
Dr. Gopi Singh says these measures will help to bring a great deal of relief to the education system by way of preventing some of the irregularities in the school system, addressing dysfunctional and abnormal behavior by counseling, early diagnosis of problems, and treatment and management. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
When we return, Member of Parliament for Kufa South focuses on local government reform. Stay with us. Welcome back. Minister of State in the Ministry of Finance and the Economy and Member of Parliament for Kufa South, the Honourable Rudranath Indarasinghe, suggests that local government reform will be for naught if the persons employed in the corporations do not have any passion for their jobs. He made the observation while contributing to the local government reform consultations.
Persons must own up to their responsibility as part of a collective. This is the reminder Minister Indarasinghe is issuing to persons in the regional corporations across Trinidad and Tobago. The reminder comes as public consultations on local government reform continues across the country. Minister Indarasinghe says passion and a sense of responsibility must be had by not only the council, councillors and the local government minister, but also the administrative staff.
As the local government ministry continues to roll out its programs and policies about persons within the administrative structure and so on, owning up to their responsibility and engendering a greater sense of collaboration at the level of the regional corporations, because I have experienced it as a member of parliament when constituents visit and I attempt to engage officers at the level of the CTDRC. Persons will tell me very flat that this is not my responsibility. I do not work in this department. So you will have to call back. You will have to find the appropriate time to engage that particular person.
The Couva South MP says the corporations will not move forward or improve until the sense of passion and responsibility is instilled in all employees.
Owning up to your responsibility and managing your responsibility and saying that I am in charge, I will lead by example, I will do my end within the parameters of the law, within the parameters of the collective agreement and so on, then we will be collectively moving the respective regional corporation.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
Over $20 million will be allocated to road paving and rehabilitation projects throughout the Tunapuna-Piako Regional Corporation area. This from Local Government Minister Dr. the Honorable Surjaratan Rambajan, who was speaking at the local government's consultation in Tunapuna.
The government of Trinidad and Tobago, recognizing that, has done something in the last month in order now to assist the corporations. So that in Tunapuna here, we are putting through the Ministry of Local Government additional funding of $22.5 million to pave roads. And I have a list of 109 roads that are going to be paved in the constituency, in the Tunapuna Regional Corporation area, geographic area, 109 roads. Now, when you add 65 roads that are being paved under the development funds and another 40 roads under your unspent balances, that means that 174 and 14 and 40 will be 224 roads will be paved in this area of Tunapuna-Piako Regional Corporation.
Plans being revealed by the local government minister to develop the Tunapuna-Piako Regional Corporation. Dr. Rambajan adds that several bridges will also be built in the area. In addition to that, there are a number of bridges that will be built in the Tunapuna Corporation. I believe it's about 11 bridges, and that's another $10 million that will be spent by the government before the end of this financial year to improve the bridges. The minister says there should be a system in place in order to adequately allocate funding to the various regional corporations. One of the things that we are discussing in this reform is how to allocate money on a more equitable basis for the corporations. So that is one of the comparisons that you will see. The second thing is that if you compare Tunapuna with Couva, Couva has a population of 162,779 persons. They cover a square kilometer area of 720 square kilometers. And that is, of course, 200 more square kilometers than Tunapuna. And they get a budget of $98 million compared to your budget of $154 million. Now, again, you have to ask, what is the criteria being used to allocate funding? And one of the major discussions in the reform will be what formula should be used in order to have a more equitable distribution of funding. He is, however, commending councillors for their efficiency in spite of the limited resources. This is unbelievable. The first 6 months, the midterm review is just about on us at the end of March. But at the end of March, the Tunapuna Regional Corporation had already drawn down 90% of its PSIP. 90%. And just to tell you, overall for the 14 corporations, the drawdown has been 80%. 80%. So when they say councillors do not work hard, and when they say councillors are not efficient, this disputes that.
Maybe they were talking about some different era of regional corporations and how people work. But councils are hard-working people. And it's because they don't have the funding to do all that they have to do that they have to prioritize.
Assurance is being given by the local government minister of the reformation of systems and provision of additional funding to take local government to a higher level. Verna Barath, News 4.
When we come back, a tribute to Peggy Castaneda. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Peggy Castaneda was a member of the World Championship winning Trinidad and Tobago netball team in 1979. She joined the Ministry of Sport as a coach 29 years ago and will retire later this year. And Castaneda will receive a fitting tribute for her years of dedication on April 13 at the Ministry's Women and Girls in Sport Festival. News 4 Sports sat down with the sports hero and got her thoughts on the game.
Peggy Castaneda spent a period of 11 years on the national netball team as a goal shooter from 1972 until 1983. The highlight of her career was being part of the national team which shared the World Championship with Australia and New Zealand in 1979. The only Trinidad and Tobago team to have ever won a world title. She was also awarded the Trinidad and Tobago Chaconia Gold Medal for this accomplishment.
The journey has been worthwhile in that I started here on the 13th of April 1983 coming from the Ministry of Finance. So during the years, it has been a wonderful journey for me because I've been doing something that I like, you know, and that I've been doing throughout the years, representing the national team from 72 to 83. So retiring in 83 and taking up the mantle of coaching was something good for me, and I have no regrets whatsoever.
The ace shooter has fond memories of the World Championship team.
I think that was a special team, you know, special players, people who were very committed to netball and the love for the game. And I think maybe that is why we were so successful. The commitment, the dedication. I think today, maybe that is some of the things that we lack. You know, the personal training, the love, love for the sport, you know, and I believe that maybe in that area we do not show enough commitment. Maybe that is why we are at this level now.
Castaneda is optimistic about the future of the sport in Trinidad and Tobago.
Being a netballer / coach, you always want the better from what's happening now. And I think that we have some kids that pass through the ministry's program from primary school, straight up the ranks, sports school, and our community programs. And I know we have a crop out there that, given the opportunity, we could reach a little further than we are now. Hopefully, maybe not, I mean, you have to be optimistic. We would like to rise to what we were before. Maybe the journey wouldn't be such an easy one, but I think we have the talent that we could reach somewhere with this present crop of players, if the right players are given the opportunity.
There was also some advice for the players aspiring to reach the highest level.
Well, first you have to love the sport, you know, the dedication, the commitment, the hours of practice, you know, your personal practice, you know, nutrition while playing the sport, you know, rest, all these things, because, you know, it's a fast lifestyle now. And I think one of the things that prevent our athletes from reaching to a high level, I believe, is our nutrition and our way of life.
Castaneda is looking forward to retirement, but her passion for coaching remains.
Well, I know most likely I might have a life with the ministry, continuing maybe helping in rural communities, and I hope that somewhere along the line I might be given the opportunity to scout for players for future national teams. That is how I see myself also. I do not mind having some part to play in the coaching of shooters in our country, you know, because I have only played that position throughout my lifetime. I do not necessarily have to be the coach of the team, but I think I could contribute in that area.
The Women and Girls Festival is the most recognized forum and fitting to recognize Peggy Castaneda after her tremendous achievements as an athlete and as a coach, and contributions to the advancement of sport for women and girls throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
More news after this. Stay with us. Welcome back. Trinidad and Tobago can already boast of a competitive petroleum company, but in the near future, citizens will have greater pride in a soon-to-be world-class company.
The journey now start, the journey it now start, the journey now start, the journey it now start.
The Trinidad and Tobago National Petroleum Marketing Company Limited has launched its innovative and dynamic The Journey campaign. The corporate campaign is testament of the steps the state-owned company has taken and is taking towards becoming a first-class, world-class organization. Speaking at the campaign's launch on Tuesday at the Hyatt Regency Trinidad, NP CEO Mr. Ken Mohammed explains the guiding principles of the company and its campaign.
As we seek to reach our fullest potential, NP is governed by 4 core values, as the chairman earlier stated, in the execution of its strategic plan: trust, integrity, professionalism, and passion. The strategic plan is distilled into 4 strategic directives: improve convenience, reliability, service, quality, and efficiency of our distribution networks, our gas stations; increase range and strength of our brand offerings; leverage NP competencies and assets in profit-making ventures outside Trinidad and Tobago; and lastly, transform NP to a high-performance, high-integrity marketing culture.
In the near future, citizens can look forward to the upgrading of NP's entire network of service stations and the visibility of the company's corporate brand with the new tagline, "For all life's journeys," in recognition of the role NP plays in the lives of Trinbagonians. The CEO explains NP's desire to evoke national passion and pride for the state-owned organization and revealed that NP is currently engaging in a multitude of projects,
including projects across the Caribbean region where we seek to provide lubricants, LPG, and fueling services so that our reach is expanding and our potential to achieve greatness is immense. More importantly, we recognize that in any competitive retail environment, a major key to success in creating brand loyalty is the delivery of excellent customer service. Therefore, NP is embarking on a major overhaul of its customer service by engaging the internationally recognized Disney Institute to provide customer service training throughout our network of service stations and also internally to all NP employees, including managers.
One of the highlights of the evening was the unveiling of the new mobile app, which is expected to present the national population with information on the nearest gas stations, public notices, special offers, real-time customer support, do-it-yourself tutorials, and even games. All these initiatives come as NP continues to celebrate its 40th anniversary. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
And that story brings us to the end of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Joseph Lopez. Thank you for watching.